Hello, everyone. So in this video, we're going to go over system.out.println statements and introduction to IntelliJ and the first project. So as soon as you install IntelliJ IDEA, you'll get a screen like this. It's like a welcome screen. And if you don't have any projects previously, then you won't have any recent projects listed here, which is okay. If it's your first time installing it, you shouldn't have anything here. So to get started, what you need to do is click on the new project. New project, we're going to create a new project, and you're going to name the project whatever you want. Make sure you do not have any, excuse me, you do not have any spaces or special characters in the name. So if you want to name something that is 4 words or 3 words long, so let's say assignment 1, you don't want to do it this way. You can do something like this, assignment 1 with no space, or you can do something like this. Use the underscore. So underscore is one thing you can use when naming the projects, but everything else, it may cause you some problems later on. So make sure you do not have anything, any of that in there. So I'm going to create a project, lecture 1, and I'll keep the location. You can change the location to whatever you want. If you don't know where this location is, you can actually go in and try to find where that location is. But I just like keeping all the projects in the same place. You can actually create a folder on the desktop and provide the location here for that as well. And you can select the folder, whatever you want in here, and it'll save it in there. And it's easy for you to find all the Java files. But I'll show you another way to find the Java file if you don't know where your location is. Other than that, make sure it's selected Java. If it's your first time, it may ask you to select Java. It may not be pre-selected. And build system, it's going to be IntelliJ. And JDK, you should have Java JDK installed. I already have it in there. It's an open JDK. So Java now have 2 JDKs. One is a free version, which is open JDK, and one is a paid version. I think automatically you get the free version. So you should have something here. If you don't have it, you may have to add one or download JDK and then select it. Okay. So if you don't have this selected, your program will not run. All right. So make sure all of this is making sense to you, and we're gonna go and hit on create. So as soon as I hit create, it's actually stopped sharing my screens. I'm gonna have to share the screen again. It brings a new window. It closes the old window, it brings a new one. So I'm going to share the new one again. All right. So this window right here, it created a new project. Now, if you look at my source folder right here, the name of the project is right here. And the source folder, I don't have any Java files in there. First thing I need to do is add Java files so I can actually start coding. So I'm going to right click on the source, go to new, add a Java file. And you can call this whatever you want. And it gives me a pop-up. I'm not really sure if you're able to see that in the recording, but it says new Java class name, and there are a bunch of options at the bottom, but I'm just going to click class and name it. What should we name it? Let's name it practice, Java practice. So I'm going to call it Java practice, and just like this. And you do not have to type in .java, Java. It automatically adds that for you. All right, so now you have a class created, Java practice. It does not have a main method in there. There is an option to add the main method automatically, but since we created an empty project, I believe we created an empty project, it did not add a main method. I believe there is a way to add it automatically. Let's go to generate. To string constructor by test. It usually adds the main method in there. I'm not really sure why it didn't add. And there, so it's okay. We'll go ahead and add it. You guys need to get used to writing the main method anyway. Every time you run Java, what happens is it looks for that main method, and everything is whatever code that you have inside the main method, that is what's going to run. So you have public, static, void, main, and then you have string, string of array of string, and You can call this anything you want, and most common one is just args, stands for arguments. So this is what you need to run Java. The main method, and that is going to be a static method, and any code that is inside. If you write a code that's like outside somewhere here, that is not going to work. It's not going to know what code to run. All the code then needs to be inside the main in order for the Java to recognize that as a code. And if you write anything right here, that would be just errors, bunch of errors. So anytime it turns something into red, that means it's an error. All right, so you have a main method, and all this as we move we move on by the end of this course, or some of the things maybe in the next course you'll know what each of these stands for. But for right now, you just have to memorize the main method as it is. So I want to keep it simple. It's the first week. I'm sorry, the second week, but first chapter. So I want to do is system dot out dot println, and this is where anytime you install IDE or Java JDK, new JDK, what I like to do is I like to run and print something. And what this does is it prints something to the console, so I can make sure everything is installed correctly and everything is working. And I sometimes do that when I create a new project too, just to make sure everything's working fine. Nowadays, technologies are pretty advanced, so I just have a habit from the old days where nothing would work the first time. But so now what this does is system.out.println is a syntax to print something to the console. And what is printed to the console? Anything that is in a string format inside the parentheses. String format is anything that is inside the quotation turns into a string. String is a data type in Java, and that will be printed onto the screen. So now to run this program, well, there's multiple ways you can do it. You can click on this top right play button. You can click on this right here, play button right here. You can go to run menu and run it this way. But the most common one is just running it this way. Clicking the play button here, and now it's building my project because it is the first time it's going to build something. And now everything is working fine. And it's printing hello world Java JDK. I'm sorry, hello world explanation mark. The JDK came from here. Yeah, sorry. So this is what's printing. If I want to change what is printing onto the screen, I can go ahead and change that here, just like this. And I'm going to go and change that to my name. I can rerun it just by clicking on the play button, and that will print my name instead of hello world, just like right here. All right. So there are multiple ways you can print. There's println, and there's also print system.out.ln, and that is just print. And what ln means is a new line. So what that does is when it prints the string, it moves the cursor to the next line. So now if I do this, let's do hello world here. And now this is going to be the first line, and this is going to be the second line. So I'm going to run it. Now, if I add one more print statement at the end, or even if I add print ln, remember, it prints this and then moves the cursor to the next line. So anything that is printed after this will be on the next line. So now when we did print, it prints this, and it does not move the cursor to the next line. It stays on the same line. And now it doesn't matter if I have a print ln or anything, it's going to be printed on the same line. So now I'm going to say same line. That might confuse. Colleges are the best. Just like this. And now hello world and colleges are the best will be on the same line. So if I run it, just like this, there's no space, anything like that. It is just concatenated together because I did not use ln here, and the cursor after printing this was on the same line, stayed on the same line. So if I'm going to change that to ln now, and even though if I change this to just print, now I'll have three different lines. All right. All right, so one more thing I want to show you, that's the syntax for Java. And anytime you write any type of code in Java, you have to end it in semicolon. So if you don't end it in semicolon, it's going to give you red squiggly line. And sometimes if you hover over it, it'll tell you what is expected. So it is saying it's expected a semicolon to end that line. If I don't do that and try to run it, that is a syntax error. And it's going to tell me right here, what error is it? Sometimes it actually tells you this is a syntax error, but it does not. But it does tell you it's an error, and it tries to guess what can you do to fix it, and it'll actually tell you you need to add a semicolon, just like this. All right. So now we have string data type. We also have integer data type, and with integer data type, what you can do is you can actually do math on it. So you can do. I'm actually gonna get rid of some of this. Sorry. So get rid of this. So this right here, if you have a string data type, something like this, and you try to do this, the result will be 510 concatenated together. Because they're a string, you cannot do math on it. This is string data type. Anytime you have numbers, letters, anything inside quotation, those are string data type, right? So English words. So this is actually turning it into like English word, and you cannot do math on it. So they just put it right next to each other. And with the integer data type, what you can do is you can actually do math on it. So you can do math. So now 5 is the integer, 10 is the integer. It's not going to be 5 plus 10 printed. It's going to be the result of this printed, which is going to be 15. So it's going to do math for you, and it's going to print 15 for you. And it doesn't matter if what numbers you have, change the numbers, and it'll do math for you, and it'll print it. All right. And we have integer data type just like this. So if you do something like this, so you have one is a string, and one is an integer. What's going to happen is it's going to convert the second one to a string as well. Because you have a plus sign and you cannot combine integer with string. So what Java does is it converts the whole thing to a string. So now it should be 5510. So that's one thing you have to keep in mind. Strings overtakes the integer because you cannot do math on strings, but it's easy to convert integer into a string. All right. So we got this, we got that out of the way. What else? Let me see what else you need to know for this one. Any variables? I think the variables would be the next chapter. So I don't usually go over slides. Slides are posted, they're self-explanatory, so I would highly recommend going over the slides. And if you have any questions, always email me and I'll be able to help you. But yeah, I believe you can do the whole assignment, the first assignment with print statement. So you have 2 print statement, print ln, that skips the new line, and then you have print. What else? I think that's about it. If you have any questions, let me know. And good luck with the first assignment and the first chapter. All right. One thing I do want to mention is if you try to find this file that you need to submit, sometimes you need to submit the whole project or just this file. And you can actually see where you saved it right here. It tells you the address. Or you can right click on it and go to, there is an option, open in, right here. Open in and go to Explorer. If you click on that, it should take you to that file location and it'll open up the file Explorer. So let me change my screen and show you where that's going to be. All right, so it takes you directly to that Java file, and then you'll be able to turn that in. So to submit it, you can just copy this or drag it over to Canvas, and then you'll be able to submit this file. But that's pretty much you need to do for all of the assignments. You can submit the Java file, or if there are multiple files, I don't think you're gonna have multiple files, but if you have multiple files, you'll find all the files here, and then you drag and drop one by one and submit it just like that. The other way, I think that's probably the easiest one. All right. So if you do have any questions, concerns, please let me know.